A few years ago, when I was still in college, a terrible incident occurred near the university I would eventually attend. An elderly woman was found dead in a bathtub, having slit her wrists. The eerie part was that when she was discovered, she had already been dead for 3 months, left to rot alone amidst congealed blood for months. I heard that the odor was so overpowering that neighbors, unable to stand it any longer, went to complain and then discovered that she had taken her own life. The house was soon cleared out, the belongings were sold, and the bathtub replaced. Although the house was on the market for a while, nobody wanted to buy it because the real estate agent made no secret of the tragedy that had occurred there. By the time I graduated, the price had fallen considerably, and since I was having a falling out with my roommate, I considered myself lucky to have bought the place. I've always believed in ghosts since I was a child. Fortunately, the idea that this woman's ghost was attached to the house didn't scare me much. I just felt pity for her rather than any malevolence. Strange occurrences began soon after I moved in. Items I'd left in one place would appear somewhere else, and when I left a room, the electronic devices inside would suddenly turn on or off. I didn't worry too much. I simply thought that the woman, having been dead for so long, was bored. I was more than happy to share my home with her, always welcoming her presence. About 3 months after I started living there, I began having recurring dreams. Every time, it was the same. In the corner of the bathroom, I saw a woman crying, repeatedly whispering the word basement between her sobs. She was so emaciated she looked almost shriveled, and the bathtub in the dream was filled with blood. The morning after I first had that dream, I went to the bathroom and discovered a rust-colored stain on the bathtub. I scrubbed it for hours and even tried using bleach, but the stain wouldn't go away. I assumed it was a supernatural phenomenon, yet I was confused by the ghost suddenly acting in such a way. It just didn't make sense, especially the dream, since this house didn't even have a basement. Aside from that, the usual paranormal activity continued. I even started leaving small items for the ghost, things like tea or food. By morning, they would always be gone. Later that year, after graduating, I prepared to leave the house. While clearing out the storage closet, I discovered a door hidden under the piles of boxes. Without much thought, I opened it and descended a ladder inside. The first thing I noticed was the smell. It was overwhelmingly strong. The second thing was that there was furniture down there, an old bed, a few chairs, and a light fixture. I assumed these were items left behind by a previous occupant. Just as I was about to turn back, I heard a crunching sound beneath my feet, as if something had been stepped on. Looking closer, I realized it was a small porcelain bowl I had been carrying. I quickly searched the area further and found more of my belongings: bowls, dishes, clothes, even packaging materials and leftover food. Suddenly overcome with nausea, I fled the basement as quickly as I could. That night, I stayed with a friend. I reported what had happened in the basement to the police, and they asked me to come to the station the next day. Initially, the police speculated that someone might have been living there, but they couldn't find anyone. Naturally, I was furious. The mere thought that another person had been in my home made me feel that my privacy had been utterly violated. Then the police told me something that turned my anger into bone-chilling fear. They had discovered 20 corpses beneath the basement floor. All of them were neatly wrapped in plastic, preventing the stench of decay from spreading. Every corpse was female, and all of their blood had been drained. It appeared that the victims had been dragged from the basement through a tunnel connecting to the forest beside the backyard. It was a horrifying incident, but what I realized next was even more terrifying. That woman hadn't committed suicide. She had been murdered by a hidden roommate.